The sky was still burning red. Smoke floated across the broken buildings like ghosts searching for their homes. Human soldier Jackson walked slowly, his boots crunching over ash and rubble. The battle was over, at least that's what they said, but something didn't feel right. Jackson held his plasma rifle tight. His eyes moved over every shadow. The alien village was destroyed, silent and cold. Yet he felt it. A presence. A sound. Then he heard it. A cry. It was soft, but it cut through the silence like a scream. A child's voice, weak, afraid, crying over and over again. Please. Please fix my mom. Jackson froze. That voice didn't belong to a human. It was alien. He looked around. The other soldiers were far ahead, not paying attention. They didn't care. We don't clean up alien trash. One of them had joked earlier, but Jackson couldn't walk away. He followed the sound, stepping through a broken stone arch. He moved past a destroyed home and into what was left of a garden. And there he saw her, a small alien child. Blue skin, thin arms, glowing eyes full of tears. She sat beside a still body, a woman who was shaking, her body trembling like she was freezing, even though the air was hot. The child looked up, her voice breaking. Please fix my mom, please. Jackson lowered his weapon slowly. It's okay, he said softly. I'm not here to hurt you. The child didn't run. She just kept crying. Her mother was clearly in pain, but there were no wounds, just the constant violent shaking. What happened to her? Jackson asked. She tried to help humans, the child whispered. They punished her. Jackson looked closer. The woman had a glowing mark on her neck. It pulsed with strange red light. It didn't look natural. It looked cursed. Jackson pressed 2 fingers to her neck. Her pulse was weak. Her skin was ice cold. She needs help, he said, standing up. Touched his comms device. Command, this is Private Jackson. I've found a civilian survivor. Is it human? The voice replied coldly. No, it's alien. A mother and child. There was a pause. Then the voice came back, sharp. Leave them. That's an order. Extraction in 10 minutes. Jackson looked down at the girl, who now clung to his leg. Please, don't leave her. His jaw tightened. I'm bringing them in, he said, turning off the comm. He picked up the alien woman carefully. She was light. Too light. The child walked beside him, one hand holding his sleeve tightly. You're my lifeline, she said softly. Jackson didn't understand the meaning, but her words hit something deep inside his heart. As he stepped out of the ruins, another soldier shouted, What the hell are you doing, Jackson? She's not gonna make it without help, Jackson replied. They're not our problem. Man, they're the enemy. Jackson looked at the shaking woman in his arms. This one isn't. He kept walking. They reached the transport vehicle. Jackson opened the back hatch and gently laid the alien woman down. The girl climbed in beside her, covering her with a thin blanket. Jackson turned the engine on. They had to move fast. If Command found out, they'd stop him. In the rearview mirror, he saw the child stroke her mother's face. She was a healer, the child said. She never hurt anyone. But the council marked her. They said she betrayed our kind by helping humans. Jackson glanced at the glowing red mark again. It looked worse now, like it was growing. What's that mark doing to her? He asked. She can't speak. She can't move. The shaking means she's fading. Jackson cursed under his breath. He didn't understand alien diseases. He needed help. He opened his comms again, this time not to Command. He called someone else. Someone off the record. Doc Miles, he said. I need a favor. What kind of favor? A tired voice replied. A cursed alien woman. Her kid says she's dying. I need you to look at her. Jackson, that's crazy. You know what'll happen if they find out. I don't care. She's not a threat. She just needs help. A long pause. Then, bring her in. Back entrance. No one sees you. Jackson sighed in relief. He looked at the girl again. Her tiny hand still held her mother's. I'll fix her, he promised. I swear I'll try. But in the back of his mind, something gnawed at him. The woman wasn't just sick. She was cursed, and curses don't break easily. Asterisk, the alien child had fallen asleep, curled against her shaking mother in the back of the vehicle. But Jackson couldn't sleep. Not with the woman's body still trembling, not with the voice of the child still echoing in his mind. You're our lifeline. The transport moved quietly through the war-torn wasteland. The stars outside looked calm, peaceful. But inside the cabin, Jackson's heart pounded like he was in a battlefield again. He kept glancing at the rear-view mirror. The woman's eyes were closed. Her skin was pale, her lips blue. Her arms twitched like she was trapped in a nightmare she couldn't wake from. She's getting worse, Jackson whispered. He reached back and touched her forehead. Cold, too cold. He pulled a heating blanket from his supply pack and wrapped it around her. Then, carefully, he checked the glowing mark on her neck. It was no longer red, it was now deep violet, and it pulsed like a heartbeat. Slow, Jackson frowned. It didn't look like infection. It looked alive. Just then, the cum in his dashboard buzzed. It wasn't command. It was Dr. Miles. You're lucky I still owe you, the old man said. You're risking everything for an alien. I know, Jackson replied. Miles asked, the shaking. It hasn't stopped? No, it's worse. Her eyes won't open. Then hurry. Because if the violet stage has begun, you don't have much time. What happens in the violet stage? There was silence on the line. Then the doctor said something that made Jackson's blood run cold. She'll begin to lose her soul. Jackson stared into the mirror. The child had woken up. She was watching him quietly. Her tiny voice filled the cabin. She's forgetting who I am. I called her Mama. But she didn't answer this time. Jackson clenched the steering wheel. That's when the vehicle's alarm went off. Target locked. Damn it, Jackson growled. 2 patrol drones were following him. They must have tracked his ID. They knew he'd broken orders. He couldn't lead them to the doctor. He swerved off-road, driving into the dark forest near the edge of the human zone. The girl gasped and held her mother tightly as the vehicle shook on the uneven ground. Branches scraped the sides. The vehicle bounced and jolted. Hold on, Jackson shouted. After minutes of hard driving, he finally stopped beside an old metal structure hidden under trees, an abandoned watch post. He opened the hatch and picked up the alien woman again. She was even colder than before. The child walked close, gripping his jacket, her feet bare and dirty. Inside the building, dim lights flickered. Dust and rust covered everything. Dr. Miles waited near a table, already setting up scanning equipment. Lay her down, he said quickly. Jackson placed the alien woman on the table. Her body twitched, then went still. The girl cried out, Mama! Miles placed a strange scanner over the glowing mark. Just as I feared, he murmured. This isn't illness, it's a punishment seal. Old alien tech. Bio-linked. What does it do? Jackson asked. Miles looked grim. It forces silence, no speech, no memories, no identity. Slowly, the person just fades away. Jackson's voice turned sharp. How do we stop it? You can't stop it here, the doctor replied. 2. Break the seal. You need the soul echo, the energy they took when she was marked. Where is it? Locked away. Probably in one of their vaults. And trust me, humans are not welcome there. Jackson looked down at the trembling woman, and then at the little girl, whose tear-filled eyes said everything. I'm going, Jackson said. Tell me what I need to find. Dr. Miles nodded. Her soul echo should still respond to one. Thin her daughter. She may be the key. Jackson looked at the child. Can you help me find where they took her voice? he asked gently. The girl wiped her tears and gave a brave little nod. I remember the place. They made me wait outside. But I heard her scream, "I'll take you there." As the mother's shaking slowed into stillness, time started slipping. Away and Jackson knew. This wasn't just about saving a life, it was about returning a soul. She opened her eyes, but no words came out, not even a breath. Her lips trembled, her fingers switched, but her voice was gone. The alien woman stared at the ceiling, unable to speak, unable to cry. Her body still shook, but inside, something had gone completely quiet. Jackson stood at her side. He saw the change. Her eyes were open, but they were full of confusion, like she didn't know where she was, or who she was. The child leaned over her mother, her small hands on her cheeks. "Mama," she whispered, "can you see me?" The woman blinked slowly. No answer. No sound. Dr. Miles scanned the glowing mark again. It now glowed deep violet, with streaks of black running through it. "She's close to the last stage," Miles said. "Once the black threads reach her eyes, it means her soul has collapsed." "What does that even mean?" Jackson asked. "How can a person's soul just break?" "This isn't normal science," the doctor replied. "This is old alien tech, built by the Council to silence rebels without killing them. They erase you from the inside. No words, no identity. Just shaking until there's nothing left." Jackson's jaw tightened. "She was a healer," he said, "not a fighter." "Didn't matter to them," Miles muttered. "She helped humans. That was enough to make her a traitor." The child suddenly said, "They took her Echo to a dark tower. I remember the place. It was like a prison, but no doors. I saw a red light inside." Miles turned toward her. "Did you see anything else?" "There were jars," the child whispered, "floating in the air, glowing." The room fell silent. Miles looked at Jackson. "That sounds like an echo vault, extremely rare, guarded, and forbidden to humans." Jackson stepped forward. "How do I get in?" "You don't," Miles said. "You'll be arrested or shot the second you step on their land." "Then I guess I'll have to be quiet," Jackson replied. "Just like they made her." The child touched her mother's face again. "What if she forgets me before we come back?" Miles hesitated, then reached into his drawer and handed Jackson a thin crystal device. "This is an echo recorder. Let her daughter speak into it. The sound might hold her mother's mind together while you're gone." Jackson handed the recorder to the child. The little girl looked scared but brave. She held it close to her lips and said, softly, "Mama, don't. Go to sleep. I'll bring your voice back, I promise. Just wait for me, please." The device glowed faintly. Jackson took it, placed it gently beside the alien woman's ear, and stood up. "She's not going to fade away," he said. "Not while I'm breathing." Miles gave him a rough map. "You'll need to move through Sector 9. No roads, no drones, just wildland and watchers. And Jackson, if they catch you, you're not coming back." "I know," Jackson said before leaving. He looked at the little girl. "You'll stay here with Miles. I'll go get her voice." But the girl shook her head hard. "No, they'll never let you inside alone. They only open the gate if you have alien blood." Miles frowned. "She's right. Some vaults require a family member to unlock the seal." Jackson hesitated. It was dangerous. The trip, the guards, the vault. But he looked into her eyes and saw the same fire her mother had. "Then we go together," he said at last. Outside, the sky darkened, and far in the distance, the red tower pulsed once like it had felt their decision. Inside that tower, a glass jar waited. And it still echoed with the last word the alien woman ever spoke. Asterisk. The map was old. The roads on it didn't exist anymore. But Jackson didn't care. He wasn't following the road. He was chasing the voice that had been stolen. He and the alien child moved through thick wildlands places where no human was allowed to go. The trees here grew tall and twisted, like they had seen too many wars and wanted to forget. Strange lights flickered in the shadows. Cold winds whispered like ghosts were warning them to turn back. But Jackson walked on. The little girl walked beside him, quiet, her tiny hand holding tightly onto his belt strap. She didn't speak much, but every now and then she would stop. "Close her eyes and point. There," she said. "I can feel her." Jackson didn't ask how. Some things couldn't be explained, not by science, not by training. Just felt. Hours passed. Suddenly they came to a wide cliff, and Jackson stopped. Beyond it, hidden behind clouds and black stone towers, stood a structure that made his heart beat faster. The Echo Vault. It didn't look like a building. It looked like a wound in the world. A red tower. Floating rocks circled its top like moons. A single glowing eye sat at its peak, watching the land. There were no doors, no windows. Just smooth black walls covered in moving patterns that pulsed like blood. The girl whispered, "That's it." Jackson studied the way down. No path, only sharp rock and narrow ledges. Worse, flying sentinels circled above, scanning for intruders. "We'll need to move fast and silent," he said. They began the climb. Every step was a risk. One wrong move and they'd fall or be seen. Jackson shielded the girl as they moved. His boots scraped rock. His chest burned from the thin air. But he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. Finally they reached the bottom. The vault stood just ahead, tall, dark, and silent. As they approached, something strange happened. The girl began to hum. It was soft, sad, almost like a lullaby. And when her voice touched the vault surface, the patterns on the wall changed. A crack appeared, not wide, but just enough for a small child to slip through. Jackson knelt beside her. "I can't follow you," he said. "It's too small." "But I'm scared," she said. "What if I get lost?" "You won't," he said. "I'll be right here, waiting." He handed her a glowing stone, the tracker bead Miles gave him. "If the vault rejects you," Jackson said, "this will bring you back." She nodded. And then she slipped inside. Darkness swallowed her. Jackson stood outside, breathing hard, watching, waiting. Inside, the girl stepped into a silent world. The walls glowed faintly. The air felt heavy. The ground was soft, like walking on clouds. Then she saw them, floating jars, hundreds, maybe thousands, each one glowing in a different color. Each one whispering. Some whispered names, others whispered memories. She walked past them, listening, searching. Then she heard it, a voice she knew, better than anything else. It wasn't calling her name. It was singing that same lullaby. She turned a corner and saw it, one jar glowing in warm gold. Inside, a small light danced like a heartbeat. She stepped closer. The jar pulsed. Then a voice behind her. "You shouldn't be here," said a deep, cold voice. She turned and saw an alien guardian. Tall, armored, eyes glowing red. "I came for my mother's voice," she said. "She was silenced for peace," the guardian replied. "Her voice is forbiddance." The girl's hands shook, but she didn't back down. "She saved people," she said. "That's not wrong." The guardian raised his hand and the vault trembled. "You will leave or join her silence." But before he could strike, the little girl screamed, not in fear but in power, a pure, sharp cry that echoed through the vault. All the jars shook. The golden jar burst open, and a golden light flowed into her chest. Outside, Jackson saw the vault glow, and then it opened, and the child stepped out. In her hand floated a shard of light, her mother's voice. The shard of light floated in the girl's small hand, warm, alive, humming like a quiet heartbeat. It wasn't just sound, it was her mother's voice, her memories, her soul. But something was wrong. As she stepped out of the vault and placed the golden shard into Jackson's hand. It burned. Not hot, but heavy. Like it didn't want to stay. She doesn't recognize it, the girl said softly. It's hers. But she's too far gone. Jackson stared at the shard. What do we do now? He asked. The vault was already closing behind them. No turning back. We need her to remember who she is, the girl said. If she doesn't, the voice won't stay. Jackson understood. This wasn't over. It was time to return and face the final step. They reached Dr. Miles's lab just before dawn. The alien woman still lay on the table, eyes open but empty, body shaking more gently now but more distant. She wasn't just dying. She was fading. Jackson held the voice shard near her chest. The shard pulsed, but she didn't respond. Miles frowned. Her mind is too disconnected. We need someone to bridge the link, someone to help her feel again, touch her past. Jackson's heart pounded. I'll do it. Miles looked at him sharply. You're not family. It might not work. I saw her memories once when I touched the mark. Maybe I can reach her again. The doctor hesitated, then nodded. Then hold the shard. And prepare yourself. If she pulls you in, you'll feel everything she does. Jackson placed the shard in his palm and pressed it against the glowing mark on her neck. The world around him faded. Then darkness. Cold. Silence. Her mind. He saw chains made of light and sound wrapped around a memory. He moved closer. The chains hissed and voices screamed at him. Traitor! Helper of enemies! Silence her! Jackson pushed forward. He saw her kneeling, crying, begging. But not for her life. For peace. She was healing a human child, offering medicine. Her own people saw her and dragged her away. She didn't fight back. She only whispered, Please, let the child live. And that was the last word she ever said. Jackson stepped toward her in that memory and shouted, Your daughter is safe. She brought me here. She turned toward him, but her face was blurred, like she couldn't believe. Then, another figure appeared. Tall, dark, a judge made of smoke. You are not one of us, it growled. You cannot free her. Jackson stepped in front of the woman. Maybe not, but I care. And that's enough. He reached down and took her hand. Her trembling slowed. I saw what you did, he said. I know you were punished for kindness. But your daughter needs you. She still remembers you. She still sings your song. The judge raised its hand to strike, but just then, the voice shard glowed in Jackson's other hand. It sang, not words, but the lullaby, the one the child had hummed. The judge screamed and shattered into dust. The chains broke, and suddenly, the woman stood up. Her face became clear. She looked at Jackson and whispered, Where is she? Jackson gasped and opened his eyes. He was back in the lab. The shard had vanished, and the woman on the table was sitting up. Awake. The child ran to her, crying, Mama, and this time, the woman smiled. She opened her arms, and they embraced. She whispered, My little star, you brought me back. Miles stood in silence, wiping his eyes behind his glasses. Jackson just smiled, but the peace didn't last long. Suddenly, sirens. Red lights flashed. Command had tracked him. Miles looked at Jackson. They're here. Jackson stood and faced the door. If they try to take her again, he said, gripping his weapon, they'll have to go through me. The woman stood beside him, but now her voice had returned, and it was no longer silent. It was strong. The first word she spoke was her daughter's name. Soft, clear, alive, Mina. And just like that, the shaking stopped. Her hands stilled. Her eyes became bright again. She reached forward and held her daughter close. For the first time in years, she wasn't a ghost. She was a mother again. But there was no time to celebrate. The metal door exploded. Soldiers rushed in, helmets, rifles, commands shouted. Step away from the alien. Drop your weapon. Jackson stood in front of them, shielding. Both mother and daughter. Back off, he shouted. They're not a threat. One officer raised his blaster. You broke protocol, soldier. You brought a hostile into a human base. She's not hostile. Jackson barked. She's the reason I'm alive. And the reason peace is even possible. Then the woman stepped forward, slowly, calmly, and said, in perfect English, I am not your enemy. The room went quiet. The human soldiers froze. Was the voice. There was something different about it. Powerful, deep, echoing, not just through the air, but into their bones. Dr. Miles stared in awe. Her voice, it's not just returned, it's been awakened. The alien woman raised her hand. Lower your weapons, she said softly. One by one, the soldiers obeyed, not because of fear, but because something inside them told them to trust. Her, the lead officer, looked confused. What are you? The woman turned to him. I was once just a healer. Then I was cursed for peace. Now, I am the voice they tried to bury. Jackson stepped beside her. You tried to silence her. But she's louder now than ever. The officer looked at the child hiding behind her mother's legs. Then back at Jackson. You'll still be punished, he said. You disobeyed orders. No, Jackson said calmly. And I'll face it. The woman touched his shoulder. No, you won't. She turned to face the soldiers and spoke in her native tongue, a speech that echoed with strength. Jackson didn't understand the words, but he felt the meaning. Hope, forgiveness, unity. The translator in one of the soldiers' helmets picked it up and repeated, You cursed me for helping. You locked my voice away, but I survived. Because one human remembered I was still alive. A pause. Then the officer lowered his weapon completely. What now? He asked. The woman looked down. At her daughter, then at Jackson. And finally, she smiled. Now I speak for those who can't. Later that night, Jackson sat outside the lab, watching the stars. The girl ran up to him and sat beside him. You're not going to prison? She asked. He chuckled. Not today. Because Mama used her voice? He nodded. Yeah. Because she used it to protect, not punish. The girl leaned on his arm. She says we're going to stay here, help heal people again. That's good, she also said. The girl smiled. You're part of our family now. Jackson looked at her, surprised, then smiled back. Family, huh? She nodded. Then whispered, You really are our lifeline. But far away, in the black halls of the old council, hidden in the stars, a cold voice growled. Her voice should have died. Why did the human interfere? Another voice replied, Because they never feared silence, they walked through it. A pair of glowing red eyes opened. This is not over. The first time she spoke to a crowd. Everyone listened. Not because she was loud. But because every word felt like a memory returning to life. She stood at the center of the human-alien meeting dome. Soldiers, medics, leaders, even strangers had gathered to hear the voice that once vanished, and now it echoed across two worlds. I was silenced for helping, she said. But a human gave my voice back by listening. In the front row, Jackson sat beside the little girl Mina, who wore a new dress and clutched his hand proudly. Mina whispered, She's not shaking anymore. No, Jackson replied with a smile. Now the whole galaxy is. Weeks had passed since the voice was restored. Jackson was no longer a soldier. He turned in his rifle and signed his discharge papers. But he didn't leave. He stayed near the woman and her daughter, living in a quiet house outside the human zone. They didn't speak much about the war. They planted flowers, raised vegetables, laughed sometimes. The woman, now known by her full name again, Arana, had opened a healing center. Humans and aliens both came for help. No questions. No fear. Mina helped with the patients. She was always smiling. Jackson? He helped build beds, fix roofs, carry children, He never thought of himself as a hero, but to two alien lives, he was the reason they were still here. One evening, Alrana stood watching the sunset. Jackson walked over, wiping grease from his hands, finished fixing the roof. He said, "Shouldn't leak anymore." She looked at him. Soft eyes. Calm voice. "You gave us a future," she said. "I just didn't walk away," he replied. "That's more than most ever did." He shrugged. "I didn't do it for medals." "I know," she said. "That's why it matters." There was silence for a moment. Then Alrana said, "Mina wants to call you Dad." Jackson froze. His throat tightened. "She asked me if it was okay. I told her, it's not up to me." Jackson looked toward the house, where the child sat drawing stars in the dirt. He smiled. Then maybe she already decided. Later that night, Mina crawled into his lap and showed him her drawing. It was simple. 3 figures standing under stars. One small, one tall, one in the middle, glowing. "That's Mama," she said, pointing. "That's you, and that's me." Jackson looked at the glowing figure. "What's the light around her?" "That's her voice," Mina said. "She gave it to the stars. Now it watches all of us." Far away, on a cold planet where angry voices once ruled, an empty throne room sat in silence. The red eyes that once swore revenge were gone. No one had listened to them anymore, because one woman's voice, once lost, was now louder than their hate. Final scene. Jackson stood under the stars with Mina on his shoulders and Alrana by his side. He looked at the night sky. So many lights. So many voices waiting to be heard. "She was right," he said softly. "You don't fight silence with noise. You fight it with kindness." Alrana smiled. "That's why you were our lifeline." And in that quiet night, filled with new peace, Jackson finally believed it.